Well, welcome back, everyone. Great to see you. Great to have you with us again. I'm Mike Temple, your host, the owner of Temple Executive Coaching, and our podcast, Business Leadership Experts. And I have one with us today. I have a good friend of mine, Mr. Chad Almjeld, who is the owner of Trucker Logistics. Believe it or not, Chad and Trucker Logistics have been in business for almost 12 months. But there's a reason why I want you guys to hear Chad's story, and I'm going to fill you in on that a little bit later as we go along. Chad's a proud graduate of St. Cloud State, where he graduated with a degree in accounting. Ask me if he uses that degree today. He does not. He's got a great story as to how he got where he is, and I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy it too. So, Chad, before we get too much into it, what does Trucker Logistics do?
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me. Trucker Logistics is a freight brokerage. We, in layperson's terms, we move freight for our shipper clients using carrier relationships. So we're in the middle there, keeping everything organized, just helping to move freight largely around the U.S. Pretty much, if you can touch it, it probably, whether it's an end table or a couch or a jug of milk, it probably moved on a truck. So we help move freight around the U.S.
Okay. So how long have you been in the logistics industry?
I've been in the logistics, supply chain, transportation, freight, all that stuff for about 13 years.
Okay. So is Trucker Logistics, is this the first business you've ever owned?
No. In 2005, I was a casualty of a buyout. Wells Fargo bought the equipment finance company I was working for. Mm-hmm. And so I was with a severance package out on the street one Friday afternoon, and I'd had some entrepreneurial energies and thoughts around that time period, just kind of figuring out who I was back then. I think I was 34 years old. So I started a handyman company from scratch. Put the light bulb in, fix the front door, all the way up to building decks and bathroom remodels, small remodels. That was in 2005, like I said, and that was going great for a couple of years. It was my introduction to being a business owner, and it was an exciting time. And I did some good things in the first couple of years, but in 2007, 2008, when the economy took a turn, people just stopped spending money. So ultimately, I had to pull the plug on that business and learn from those mistakes. And then that's when I got into logistics, just kind of by chance.
Yeah. Ouch. Yeah. 2007, 2008. I can ride the same horse with you and your friend behind you there, Clint Eastwood, on that. I had a friend, and we had a franchise business in the lawn care service industry. And we found out that for some odd reason, the science is still out on this, why people don't want to maintain their lawn after the home has been foreclosed on and they've still been kicked out. I'd like a congressional hearing on that one. But Chad, I mean, these are two different industries, two different businesses. Handyman, premium handyman home service, Trucker Logistics. What 3 lessons do you think that you learned over at Handyman that you think has maybe kind of resonated? You've kind of learned from, you've brought with you over at Trucker.
I think I'm a more patient leader today. I was figuring things out back then. So with Premium Handyman Services, that was my introduction to being an entrepreneur, and I think that one of the main mistakes that I made back then was I went out and I spent $4,000 on a logo, and I got a new truck and marketing and branding, and I was building a company. So I had to get this stuff in place, but I really needed to bootstrap myself and get out there and sell and operate and figure some of that stuff out later at the right time. Mm-hmm. So I probably got a little bit out over my skis in that respect at that time. But the difference between the time period with me as a leader as well was, I'm a much more patient leader now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was a little hard on people back then. Because I'm a hard charger and kind of a junkyard dog. And I realized that, some people need a hug and some need to be kicked in the butt, depending on the situation and the individual and how they're kind of wired. So, I'm much more, patient with people and with the process today than I was back then, for sure.
Yeah. Wisdom and age will do that to you. If you do it right. If you do it right. Well, Chuck, you 13 years in the logistics industry. And, just by your own admission, you said you're, earlier years, 30, 35 years old. You've waited all this time. And what has brought you to the point now where you've wanted to kind of start your own business?
I think the main thing for me is I want to control my destiny, so to speak. And I want my efforts to go toward building something for my family. And I also want to create a great place for people to work. I've worked for some great companies with great cultures, but here at Trucker Logistics, I'm able to, kind of make sure that we hire with a high standard for the people that come in, and keep the culture rewarding and just the right kind of culture that has always spoke to me as an employee is what I want to create, and then some here at Trucker Logistics. And thirdly, I spent a lot of years traveling and commuting. Probably an 8-year span of those 13 years, I drove an hour to work each day, each way. So I spent a lot of time in a car, which is good and bad. You can wind down on the way home and think about the day on the way there, but it's just a lot of time in a vehicle away from family and that kind of thing. So one of the motivations, quite frankly, was I wanted to start a company right here in my hometown. I'm a 1 mile walk from my house, and I got 3 kids, 18, 16, and 12-year-old boys. And it's kind of nice to be, this is a great community that I live in with my wife, Joni, and our 3 boys. And I like not having to leave here and drive anywhere every day. It's really a nice perk.
Okay. All right. So 13 years, handyman service. Now we're in the logistics industry. There's been this time gap in between. What would you say is now the philosophy that you use with these changes that have come about? The philosophy that you now use in managing and running Trucker Logistics?
I'm pretty well read with, from good to great through traction and all that stuff. But when you talk about business philosophy, the thing that comes to mind for me right now is as a new entrepreneur, so to speak, with, we started basically August 1st of 2020. I haven't even been in business a year, even though I've been doing this for a long time. The philosophy that comes to mind for me when you're building a company like this, especially at the front end, it's the right time to do it, is to decide, is it going to be a lifestyle company or is it going to be a growth company? And the way that I define that is a lifestyle company is, well, everything would center around me. We get to a certain point where I could kick back, get comfortable with a certain amount of EBITDA coming into the company, and it would just kind of level off at that point. If I ever get hit by a milk truck, the company would probably crumble because I'm the spoke of the wheel that everything revolves around. And even at these early stages, these humble beginnings, I'm thinking of my company as something that's for sale. It's not really for sale. There's really nobody would buy me out today, even though there's a lot of merger and acquisition in this space. Nobody's going to want to buy Trucker Logistics today, not for much anyways. But the mindset of being a growth company.
You've been listening to the Temple Executive Coaching Podcast, where we engage with experts in business growth for small and medium-sized companies. If you're an expert and would like to be featured on the Temple Executive Coaching Podcast, please email Mike Temple at mike@templeexecutivecoaching.com.